Motherfucker. I don't even know what I wrote anymore.
Kathleen Goller, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, sir.
It's funny, I always go into I'm shaking a female's handshake, and then every once in a while you'll get a girl that's like going into like, I'm gonna shake like a man, and then you're like, okay, well I wasn't shaking like a man, so and then you give me your hand. Like so like if I was gonna shake your hand like a man, then my hand would be like that, right? But
trying
then
to make a statement there and be like, I can beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, and then I also know, give me your hand again. So when you keep your index finger extended, and you'll know other people that do this trick, right? So go all the way in, index finger extended, not all the way in like that, like this. Index finger extended. If you keep your index finger out while you shake, they cannot collapse your hand.
Interesting.
See, your hand holds up. Otherwise, put your index finger down, and your hand, see how it moves there? Put your index finger out. It's harder to move because you have that like tension.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Get a little bit closer.
Can I move this to me?
You could go like that. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, it was 1:30 when she got here. We did run out really quick to get to. What kind of wine is this? We could plug the wine.
Meiomi Pinot Noir.
Naomi, what a fucking way. Like this bottle's gonna break. This bottle isn't gonna break. Maybe if you really smash it. I don't even
know why they use those things.
It'd be great to hit someone. I mean, I'm not gonna hit anyone, but how do you say that? Like Naomi, but Meiomi?
Meiomi.
Meiomi?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
That's how I say it, so that's how it's said.
I'm not gonna have sponsor $23.99.
$23.99.
Got the Ravenswood in the house. All right, so Kathleen showed up at 1:30, and so explain to them what it is that you're doing your interview for.
So I was approached by a casting producer for a game show, TV show that's going to be filmed sometime later this year. I'm not exactly sure when it's being aired, but it's called the Titan Games, which is essentially like Ninja Warrior, but they're adding in some mental and emotional challenges as well.
Like what? Like they
I don't know. They don't really tell you.
Face?
I don't know, but if they throw snakes in there, I'm fucking out. Like,
yeah. What would you rather have coming at you? Because on episode 5 with Matt Emmons, we had this little discussion where he's like, or I was bringing up snakes, and we talked about centipedes, like the large centipedes.
Yeah.
Now, if one was on the ground coming towards you, which one would you rather have coming towards you on the ground?
The centipede.
Yeah, fucking me too.
Yeah.
He was like, nah, I'd rather have the snake. I'm like, homie, you got it twisted.
No. No, I am like scared shitless of snakes.
Yeah, I think it's built into everyone's DNA to not like snakes.
Yeah.
Especially cats.
Not kosher.
Yeah.
I used to play with them when I was a little kid, which is the funny part. But now I'm like, if I see a dead one, I'm like, over there.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
We were in the jungle when Al and I went to Iquitos in Peru, and we were like hiking in, and there's like a dead snake up ahead, and like they show you, and I'm looking at this thing like, if this was alive and I ran into this on the path, like I might poop my pants. Like I definitely might actually poop my pants. Like I don't know, I would not like that.
What if you were on one of those Survivor shows and you had to eat a snake? Would you be able to eat a snake?
Alive?
No, like they kill the snake and then they eat it. Like,
yeah, that's not a problem.
Oh, really? I wouldn't be able to eat the snake.
I mean, do I have to eat like all of it? Skin too?
The edible parts. We'll just go with the edible parts. No skin.
If I'm on a Survivor show, I'm doing everything I gotta do. Everything.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, I like food so much, but I feel like in that situation, I'd be like, no, I am not eating the snake.
On a Survivor show?
Yeah, I'll be like, I'm gonna go get a fucking cow. There's no cows in this island, but I'm gonna find one anyways.
Yeah, and I'm gonna die trying. And Kathleen's out.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, don't do that in the Titan game. So
I'm in it to win it.
So
I'll be realistic.
What is it about? So like, what do they have any example of it? Is it already a show?
No, it's a new show. It's hosted or whatever by The Rock, which is really cool.
Yeah, Dwayne's a fucking stud.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I saw a documentary on Dwayne Johnson when I was younger, and I I already had a lot of respect for him, but I gained so much more respect for him because there was this part that said when he was 14, I think, I don't know if he got arrested or kicked out of school or whatever, but basically he got into a fight in school and he was slamming like a senior. He was 14.
Obviously.
Yep. And he was trying to rip the other kid's tongue out of his throat. That's how the teachers broke up the fight. Now, I've been into some shit before, but never has it crossed my mind to be like, as well, open your mouth, dude. I'm getting that.
Motherfucker.
And he was on Punk'd. You remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was one of the few people on Punk'd that, like, you weren't punking him.
Yeah.
They did this thing about leaving the gas on in the trailer and then blaming it on him. And then the guy that works on the studio comes back and in front of a bunch of cops and stuff, they're like, no, like, I told him. And he just moves the cop over, and it's just like starts going after him. And we're rocking a Scully in like a full jean suit. And I was just like, yo, Dwayne's
That's
a G.
awesome.
Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?
I was like, where is this going?
Yeah,
Ronan, did you fart?
I do. He's always farting. This place smells a lot different. And so for everyone that's just listening or you can't see him, there is Ronan
Hey, guys.
propped up on the bottom on his two hind legs. Such a ham.
He's a ham.
So there are episodes of Titan Games that are out right now.
No, it's a brand new show. So, yeah, this is just an application. I'm not on the show yet. We'll see what happens. I feel like we had a very, very unproductive hour and a half. What was that? Hour and a half? Yeah.
No, I don't think that's...
Oh, 2.5 hours was it?
Get a little closer.
How long did that really take? It was so embarrassing.
Probably a good hour 15. There
was a few times where I felt literally defeated.
Yeah.
Public speaking is my worst enemy.
It gets you. But public speaking is your worst enemy because if you don't practice.
You told me to practice. I didn't practice at all.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I got this. Like, I'm just going to read about my life. I'm like, what do I do again? Where am I? So I remember being in college. Shout out to Tony Butterfield. He was my Management 101 and other management course teachers in the Isenberg School of Business at Umass. And I just remember, I was a little bit older at this point too. So it was actually when you kind of start finally listening, you're like, okay, someone's telling me something, maybe I should listen. And he's like, yo, you guys, he didn't say yo. I'm paraphrasing. Right, he's such a good guy, man. But he's just saying how it never surprises him. Every year, students come through, and he tells all the students, listen, your final presentation, right, I'm going to judge you on XYZ factors, and one of those factors is how well you have scheduled the time, right? Your pace throughout your presentation, which becomes very important in the business realm. Yeah. And it always stuck with me. It was like a lot of the kids that come up to do their presentation, this is the very first time that you've ever been doing your presentation out loud. So, and then it's weird because especially like us, right? So Kathleen and I went to UMass Amherst together, and we're definitely library buddies, like, overnighters.
Yeah, overnighters all the time. Color coordinated notes. Very she had better handwriting
For real.
than I did. Yeah.
We were so organized.
So organized.
It was like a way to just buy time. Let me just color code everything.
In a way, what you're doing with those notes in your preparation for the test would be what you were doing by presenting or practicing out loud in preparation for the presentation. So then when you're at the library, that's not a good place to practice your presentation.
You can't.
Mm-hmm. And then so this stuck with me. It's the first time I ever, the one song that I have performed a song, Hunger Games 2. I performed that in front of 200 Haitians at a poetry slam event in Stamford, Connecticut.
Are you sure they were all Haitian?
Most of them were.
Just checking.
I'd say this is 85%. I was literally probably runner-up for the third lightest motherfucker in there. Yo, and Haitians.
We're talking skin color people.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, not weight. I was definitely. Yeah.
Like what?
As a whole, they're bigger than me for sure. But yo, and I was like, okay, so now I understand that in order to ever do a good job presenting or performing, I need to practice out of my comfort zone. So, I sat down Barrett and Jen at the time. They were my 2 roommates in Stanford. Great people. And really, Jen was the first one. She was sitting on a couch, and then I stood up and I just kept performing my song in front of her. And it was amazing how doing that, how even with just Jen, because Jen's vibe wasn't really hip hop. It wasn't really, she was a good person to practice in front of because she would naturally give that vibe that was like kind of less interested, and that's the one you want to prep for in a presentation is the less interested vibe. If you could captivate them, then you're good. So an hour and 15 minutes goes by and I will do my best to edit in at least a handful of the bloopers. Yo, because you're beautiful when you're laughing and you're messing up. I've always been a quality of the moment type of person. And when you're like messing up, right, that's when real Kathleen comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And it's like, I'm a waitress by night and a vampire. So why don't you read it for him? You'll probably do your best job right now. You don't need to go all the way through. Yes, you do.
Let me just tell you guys how angry I am for having to do this one more time. Like, when we called it a wrap, I was like, thank God I made it. I'm going to stop sweating now. This is good. Life can continue.
Yo, your shoulders
and then you're like,
diesel.
Stop talking about my shoulders. And then you're like, oh, grab your paper. We're going to do one more time.
You got a shirt on that literally says nothing in regards to fashion except check out my shoulders. Look at them. You could see, you could probably do that thing where you watch each one of them kind of like ripple a little bit.
Oh my gosh. No, not quite. But actually, I just moved, and like I have very minimal clothing that's not in a box right now. So this is one of the like 4 or 5 shirts that are not gym clothes that I wear.
Nice.
Yeah. Once we hit summer, I'm gonna have to cut these sleeves off altogether. You know.
Yeah.
Can't open up that box.
You should rip them off and then make a slow motion video from it.
Send that to The Rock. Be like, now you want to put me on, don't you?
He would.
For sure.
Yeah. Can you smell it?
What are you talking about?
What The Rock is cooking.
Is that a quote from somewhere that I'm missing?
Dude, The Rock got started. Well, he got started in football, had an injury, left, would have played in the NFL. He was on, I think he played for Miami with all the best of them. And then he went into WWF. Before the Worldwide Wrestling Federation was like, excuse me, we had it first. And then it became the WWE.
Gotcha.
But he was The Rock in WWF. And he would just do, can you smell what The Rock is cooking? And he'd always do the eyebrow. And he would always call you, you jabroni. You're jabroni. And he had the people's elbow. He'd run. He'd bounce on one side, run, bounce on the other side, come back. And then the people's elbow would come up. It was so fucking great that he had the people's elbow. And then he would land down like, whoa.
I don't even know why I haven't looked that up yet. Like, you think, like, I should go research this guy. I should know everything about him.
Nah.
Be like, yo, Rock, I remember that time you did this thing.
And now we're going to put cockroaches on your face, Kathleen. This is the mental discipline part.
Great.
Ronan. Okay, so this is...
The drum beat to my...
This is the... Yeah. I'm a dog
song.
mom. I enjoy being a dog mom. So this is like basically we took her audio and are going to overlay it over some other clips. Whatever. It's the quality of the moment. You could even hear a minute. And we're going to overlay it over some clips of you running with your dogs and out in the woods doing some power cleans, doing some, I don't even know all the exact words. So
Those are not power cleans.
that's why I said that. So what are they?
Those are just clean and jerks.
Clean and jerks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't clean and jerk today. Okay.
But
so
you are a clean jerk.
yeah,
What's up?
for sure. Lineup stays crisp.
For the record, the filming part was super fun. We had a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
If we could just film footage all day, that'd be great. The second I got to talk about it, down the hill.
Yeah.
All right, you want me to give this a go, though?
Yeah, give it a go so that people know who they listening to.
Are we going to put like a bet on how many times they mess up?
No, this just go all the way through. Because even if you mess up in this, they already know the preface.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kathleen Goller. I'm a student at the Nutritional Therapy Association. I'll graduate as a nutritional therapy practitioner in November. When I'm not studying, I am creating recipes for my real food blog called Primal Treats and Eats, where I share recipes, wellness tips, and do meal prep for athletes. By night, I am a waitress just to make ends meet. In my spare time, I'm a dog mom. I enjoy doing any outdoor activity, and I am a competitive weightlifter. I also participate in recreational CrossFit just for shits and giggles. My athletic career took off after a relatively near-death experience. After years of struggling with an eating disorder, I was told that if I didn't change my ways very soon, I was going to die. My levels of potassium were so low that my heart essentially would have stopped working. So basically, the reason for my training now, my competitive weightlifting career, stemmed through all this adversity. I decided that I needed to start really putting some steps forward instead of just taking steps backward. So a couple steps forward, couple steps backward, time and time again. Eventually got myself to where I had relapsed so many times I just got sick of it, and I decided tomorrow I'm going to be better, and every day after that I'm going to continue to be better. So the purpose of my training now is not only to be the strongest, healthiest version of myself, but also to inspire others. Basically the way that my parents inspired me to keep pushing forward. Through every relapse, every obstacle, my parents always told me they wanted me to become whole. So basically, I would love to share. This is where I start fucking up. I'm like, oh, we're almost at the end. I'm doing so well. Basically, I want to inspire people and share with them that the fact that if we can control our minds, we have the power to do anything. You can overcome any eating disorder, any anxiety, depression, drug addiction. They're all essentially the same. It's basically controlling your thoughts. Remember the quote from that book, The Untethered Soul, that we always go back to?
Oh, every episode has had it in it. Yeah, so the first true, I think I paraphrase it, but the first true step to enlightenment is understanding that you are not the voice in your head, you are the one that listens to it.
Yeah, that book is super powerful. If you guys have not read it, I definitely recommend it. But a little tangent in my story here. We're ending it with just the fact that I've found that by sharing my story, I've been able to connect and help with many people who have fought similar battles. And I'm participating in this audition for this show in order to hopefully be able to help inspire and reach more people. With that is going to go, like Samson said, a bunch of clips of me weightlifting, the dogs, studying, basically just a day in the life. I also do some fun tricks on my horse Ezra, so it's all good.
And I was thinking, like, what is that horse thinking?
He loves me. He's
yeah,
like,
you could tell.
He's like, that girl's crazy. I like her.
So I might snip the audio and cut out a couple of the ums and take what you just said and redo it again, because that was your best one. Did you realize that? It's kind of funny. It's almost.
I did until I stumbled. When I realized I was
doing
doing
so good. I can still cut that too. And yeah, I'll look back into it after. There's more you in it. So one of my mentors, Courtland Hankins, shout to Mantic International, when I actually did record that song, that Hunger Games 2 song. Like, one of the most important things that I learned with him in the booth and over and over and over spitting that is just how you need to be just as animated and in it. And you know, if you're saying that you struggled, like, there's a difference between saying like, I struggled for a long time with an eating disorder or whatever, and saying like, I struggled for a long time with an eating disorder, and like, you're feeling it, your body's moving with it, and that comes out. Kind of like how they say, smile on the phone. They could hear the smile.
Yeah.
Right? So more of you came out when you did that. Cool. So I think that a lot of people, so when you say you struggled with an eating disorder, can you fill that in? Like, what do you mean by that?
Basically, it was the only way I knew how to deal with any emotions. So anytime I was anxious, anytime I felt like a failure, anytime I felt fearful of something, anytime something went wrong and I was upset with myself, it was like the only way I knew how to cope with my feelings. I didn't know how to deal with them. I didn't know how to make them stop. It was very
So you would eat more or you eat less? Or?
It was like binging and purging. So I would eat a lot because I was basically eating my feelings, and then you eat to the point where you're just like sick, you know?
Yeah.
And like the purging was almost like a purging of your feelings too. So it kind of worked both ways. So there's all different forms of eating disorders. And that was what I struggled with. It wasn't just based on, I fell and hurt myself and this is how I'm going to deal with the pain. It was, a lot of things I went through when I was younger that I talk about from time and time again. Just really unfortunate events that happened in my life when I was really young, and I didn't know how to talk about them. Like, if any of this stuff happened now, obviously I would know how to deal with it. Even if I didn't go through like the whole eating disorder thing, it's like once you get older, you learn like if something happens, you got to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah, you got to get it out.
So I was like 14 at the time when a lot of shit really went wrong in my life, and it stemmed from there. And like 2 of my best friends at the time had eating disorders, and that's like how I viewed them going through this, and that's how they dealt with everything. Yeah. So that's how I learned it. I was like, well, if it works for them, it should probably work for me. And so it was a huge battle for a long time.
Would you be willing to get into like what happened? You don't have to.
It was basically someone who I grew up with. It's okay. Someone I grew up with who was one of my best friends at the time. When we were younger, he changed. Like, he had a lot of issues himself. He was one of those people with an eating disorder that I mentioned a minute ago. And he also came from like very, I don't know if this is genetic or not, but he came from a very like gay family. Like, he had uncles and relatives that were gay. I think it was a time where he was
happy.
Probably...
They were very happy.
No, he was homosexual.
Okay.
But I think this was at the time where he was trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so he started to kind of turn on me and take all his like negative emotions about himself and put them on me. Like, you're too fat to be a girl, and like my waist is skinnier than yours. And like we would also compete competitively with horses, draft horses at the time. And anytime I would beat him, it would just get worse and worse. And like it came from like sibling rivalry kind of stuff to like crossing the line, like threats of this, threats of that, like I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then it became very like sexual towards me. Everything was sexual. He made me watch all these videos. It got to the point where he had tried to force sexual activities on me. And
he was like fully homosexual?
No, this is at the time where
he's figuring it out, so.
Yeah. So he didn't admit that he was gay until many, many, many years later.
Probably just pissed him off and hyped him up more.
Yeah. So throughout all of my summers when I was growing up, I had lived with his family up in Maine.
Okay, so this is real close then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a friend.
Just a friend. Like,
living quarters means like it's a whole new thing.
Yeah. And so after all that happened, then more death threats and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know how to remove myself from the situation because I really enjoyed being there. And like the horses have always been a huge part of my life. And my Aunt Dale, who's his mom, she's not my real aunt. I call her my Aunt Dale because we grew up with her. I didn't know how to say anything to her. I just didn't know how to deal with it besides just like secluding myself in a room and just then developing an eating disorder after that. So, yeah.
Especially because you saw that as an outlet of pain, if you will, from like a few other people.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think about that's that's horrible that you had to go through that. I think that a lot of people would ultimately resonate, and I immediately think of cutting. So I was never a cutter. I could see how somebody in the position though with a lot of fucked up shit going on that sees other people cutting, how they could almost adopt that as like an outlet of pain. And I like, dude, so I said in the last pod, I'll say this all the time. I'm a firm believer that vulnerability is the number one characteristic of courage. Doesn't mean you're going to go and tell everything.
Right.
But it's going to show a lot more about your character when you can get open about something. And in doing so, just like your mission of, I want to like help Wait, you say it again. What is it? I want to help and inspire others, inspire more people. That first takes a stronger person to stand up and been like, yeah, I've been through the same shit, and look at me now. Look at me now. Look at my shoulders.
Yeah.
But
what?
I've definitely been. I know what it is like to have so much pain in your life that you would want to cut yourself because why? Because then at least it's real. Right. That's like a heavy amount of pain.
Yeah.
Right. So, and if you look at someone who's scarred up from that, whether it was when they were young, I mean, scars, they're going to stick with you until you're older. And unfortunately, something like eating disorder, no one's going to meet you, look at you, your shoulders, your arms, and just be like, oh, okay, she had an eating disorder. But if you cut.
Me, but other people aren't so lucky.
Exactly. So if you're cutting and you have that on your arm, that's not a nice. It sucks. I don't mean to be disrespectful or to offend anybody that has those scars. And if anything, this is more of like to stand up and let them rep you and tell your story now. And that the fact that you're still alive, because it's a good thing that it wasn't your fucking throat or your wrist on that look.
Right.
But like, I get that pain.
Yeah.
But like, that isn't like a really intense amount of pain. Just be like, okay, should make this physical, because then I won't seem as crazy for feeling this much. And I think that a lot of people that end up blowing their brains out, maybe they'd be a little bit better off if they had cut a couple times before doing that. You go to it, the people let it build, and then they don't talk to other people.
Right.
They don't get it all out. It's a pressure cooker. It builds up, and then next thing you know, that's it. Their cutting was never an option. Having an eating disorder was never an option. And now you have just pigeonholed yourself so deep. You dug your own fucking grave, and you're just like, all right, that's it. It's over. And I mean, I've been there too. I've gotten I've told you this before. So a lot of so when you have anxiety and you go to any doctor, psychiatrist, etc.,
SSRIs,
they're all gonna say, hey, most anti-anxieties are joint with SSRIs, antidepressants. So just take one of those, because guess what? If you took that stupid little fucking 50, 100, whatever question quiz, most Americans are going to start, and this is what makes me really nervous about the school systems now, saying that they want to be checking kids at a younger age for depression and anxiety. Now, I'm all for being aware of that, but if you're going to go and start checking them, but it's within a system that automatically is going to say, okay, you had a certain score on this test, so you should be on this and you should be on that. I mean, it's in a fucked up way all built in to put them on these things that we don't understand yet. I mean, every scientist I would think would be willing to sit in front of us right now and say, we do not thoroughly by any means understand the brain yet. We do not get the brain yet. And yet we want to put you on medications that fuck with your adrenal glands, that actually have a control over your brain or over the rest of your physical body and everything like that. Like, what is that ultimately going to do to kids, to people? Yeah. And so where I was going with this is that I've been on, I had taken a couple different, I moved a lot. That was another one of the big issues with being on benzos or SSRIs. And for anybody listening, and for all of those addicts out there, whether you're on your way to get better, you're not better yet or anything like that, I have some friends that have been through some deep shit that will all say, listen, it is harder to get off benzos than it is to get off opiates. That's such an arguable thing, but I think a lot of people would sum it up and say that it is because it's more of a mental battle. And that mental battle that you have is not filled in by the doctor telling you that mental battle is going to be there. So on opiates, it's really intense for your body, 5 days to 2 weeks, I believe, to kick it physically. And then you're still going to have remnants of it, and then it's a lot mental. But for me in benzos, I never abused that. I took 1 milligram of Klonopin a day, and I got on that after I was in that accident, which anyone who sees a dead body on the ground and gets hit in the head like I did, like thrown out of a vehicle, you should have some anxiety. You should have some anxiety and grief, and you should ride that out. But no, take this. And then you take it, and it does numb you out. You don't have a fucking care. You have a care in the world, but you don't. The anxiety is the heart racing. My air is all up here. Not anywhere near my diaphragm where it should be. That's all gone. And it's like a beautiful thing. I used to even be like, dude, I would kill to get a Klonopin right now, which makes me sound like an addict, although I never surpass more than 1 milligram a day. And when you do that, a lot of people don't know. And I started bawling my eyes out when I turned on YouTube one day because I was like, let me go and look up. The doctors were a dead end. Doctors, plural, like 3-4 doctors, just dead end, waste of investment. Totally. We're so uneducated and so fucking prissy and blind to the fact that there could possibly be something else. I turned on YouTube and I Wikipedia'd like benzo withdrawals, and the list of benzo withdrawals is longer than I think 40 different symptoms. Turned on YouTube, started listening. This one girl specifically, man, hopefully I'll be able to find her thing again. I'll put it in the timetable of contents. And she had this 16-month out journey, 13-month out journey, 8-month out journey. And I just started bawling my eyes out because I was like, finally, somebody is saying exactly how I felt. You get to this point where you're like, I feel like I can't leave my place. It's too much anxiety. And the weird thing about benzos, you get off those. You can only take them for 9 days in a row, and your brain can be mentally fucked up for 6 to 18 months after. Now, in the big scheme of things in our lives, even though we're just a blip, like 6 to 18 months might not seem like a lot. But huge. It seems like the entire world on the day that you're waking up with hot, cold sweats. Once again, I never abused it, right? I was taking the recommended dose. I never abused it. And I'd wake up, and before I could take the full first breath in through my nose, out through my mouth, I would just start dripping sweat. My hair would stand up on my arms from being like, I don't even know what it was, and then it would go down. Every 20 minutes, I got strep throat, which is another symptom of benzo withdrawals, so much throughout that year. And then it's just like, dude, you restless legs, everything like that. The lights are bright. There's like rings around all the lights and everything. I'm literally going off of what the doctor told me to do. And when you get off of those, you're not just bad. All right, you quit benzos. You're a week out. You haven't taken them. You're fine. You're 2 weeks out. You're fine. It's a month to 2 months in that now the real depression starts kicking in. The real anxiety starts kicking in. And no one told you that this was ever supposed to happen. And you were good for those first couple weeks. Yeah. So now you're convinced it's something wrong with you. And then you're fucked.
That's crazy.
And then you kill yourself. And you were 21 years old, 15 years old.
It happens, yeah. It's crazy.
It happens all the time. So was there a defining moment for you?
Kind of, yeah, actually. Before I get into that, though, I just want to take a step back and say that, like, when you talk about prescriptions and all this and dealing with anxiety and, like, depression and that stuff in children, too, the really cool part about what I'm going to school for now is that all those things have a reason, and we know the reasons. People know the reasons. The doctors don't tell you about these reasons because that's not how they make money. They don't make money by not prescribing you things, right? Like, they make money when you show up there because you're sick and you need something.
Yeah, they don't want to sit down
the truth,
for like this and get into it.
The truth behind all this is, years and years ago, primitive people, they didn't have anxiety, depression, they didn't have cancer, they didn't have any of these crazy diseases, they didn't have Alzheimer's, they didn't have any of that. What caused all that is the change in lifestyle, the change in the food that we eat, the change in all that kind of stuff. And this is all stuff that you can go back and change yourself. So it's like, now that I know more, I can be like, yeah, well, maybe I'm having anxiety because something's off with my digestion. Maybe I'm having anxiety because my blood sugar is off. Like, blood sugar sends you through like huge spikes and dips in mood, energy, everything. You think anxiety isn't correlated to that? Anxiety is the same, huge spikes and dips. Like, after you're anxious, you're fucking exhausted. So just a side note that maybe we can do a podcast in the future just about all that kind of stuff once I'm out of this class, because that's all the stuff we're learning. And it's really, really kind of awesome to be like, well, the reason that my pinky hurts all the time is actually because my liver is not functioning. Yeah. You know, it's just funny how like things that are correlated that you would never know unless you kind of took the time to seek that out and really find the actual cause, not just the symptom, but like this, the root, the foundation of the issue. I
agree. And I think the more beautiful and kind of like hope related thing to all of this is that now a lot of figuring it out can be done via blood tests and or saliva tests or whatever that you could actually send in via a third party, even if you don't have health insurance and everything like that, to still get and home kits that you could bring back to monitor, you know, because if you really if you really want to pay attention, this is not just one blood test. You technically should be testing, depending on what it's for, your blood every 4 to 6 hours, 2 hours after you eat, after you've journaled what you ate and everything. There's a lot of work involved with it for sure. But if you think the fucking doctor right now is going to do that work, you're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah, conventional doctors don't get nutritional. They don't study nutrition.
I heard it's like 2 hour
maybe,
course.
1 or 2 hours courses, and that's about it.
Get your MD.
And it's crazy because all this stuff stems from what we put on our body, what we put in our body, what we do with our bodies. Yeah. It's not like you don't have imbalances for no reason.
At Easter, I was sitting down with the family, and like, I think this makes it a little bit easier for people to grasp and use this metaphor, right? So what if birds, right? So what if birds suddenly had a vehicle, something more efficient, strategic in flying than doing it themselves, and then could bring their homies there with them? What the fuck would happen to the birds?
Right? They wouldn't be able to fly them if they have something else flying them around.
I mean, your entire millions.
That's why people can't walk, run nowadays.
Exactly. And I think this is where a lot of anxiety and the depression will stem in from, because we are such a blip, and people look at it, and even if you look at it in just I'm a big thinker, right? So I'm not just thinking about this in regards to one lifetime. I'm taking into account the fact that if it's all true, right, the monkey to the man timeline, and the fact that is, I think, double digit, if not triple, millions of years, hundreds of millions of years of evolution, right? And there are reasons why you began to stand upright and your appendages move a specific way and your neck is a certain way. And now even, like, I could even feel it myself, like, and I try to stay off my phone as much as possible, but I do use a lot. But I can feel when I lay down at night and I go to sleep, like my head, and we were talking about this the other day, that my head doesn't really feel like it's down on the pillow. It feels like it's down on the pillow, but it's also like arced up, and it's uncomfortable as shit. Yeah. So what would happen to the birds, right? And that is what's happening to the people. Right. Basically, we've made it so easy. Life is so easy, you damn near don't wipe your own fucking ass anymore, right? Like, soon they'll have something for that. Yeah. You know, think of even just cars innovation. Like, the need to even look around and check your surroundings isn't really there anymore. Yeah. So it's like, and someone told me once that stress is your body's way of telling you need to move. See, that there's actually a beautiful component to stress, which is that when you're stressed out, it is really a trigger for exercise. Because in all of those millions of years of evolution and what men and women did, and specifically men, because I think a lot of men bottle shit up and they don't talk about it or whatever, and they need to recognize this. I'm not talking about your great-great-grandfather. I'm talking about fucking 100 lifetimes before that, 50 lifetimes before that, 20 lifetimes before that. You're hunting in the woods. You're in the moment all the time. That's why hunters, like, you know, I want to hunt. I want to start doing bow hunting. But it's to get the meat and to feed myself for an entire, like, winter, for an entire season. Not because I like killing things, you know? So, and then, you know, if you're in the woods and you're focused on doing that and you're moving and you're carrying things and you're doing that, that's been like, where is that in the culture now? It's not there. That's why the gym has become such a big thing. But I even think that there's a difference between running on a treadmill and running outside. You're exercising more of your senses, your space, depths, you know, like perception and everything. And I think that's why all these studies on runners really show that runners are the ones that even in later years can develop new brain, I don't know if it's brain cells, neurons, or whatever, but it's the important ones.
Yeah, for sure. You ever run on a treadmill and then run outside and notice just how much happier you are outside, or like how much farther you end up running, and it's fine because like there's this scenery and this hill, and like, you saw a dog along the way.
Yeah, I've always liked to run sprints rather than laps because of that, or if it's a laps, then big laps, so I'm seeing, you know, it only a few times. So I agree with that. Yeah. I think people, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I started all this, because people need to hear this shit. Because, if you spend anywhere near as much time or money as I did with doctors, fucking with anxiety, depression, gynecomastia, any of those issues, you're in for a long road of pain and trouble that you could really start changing today by like getting up and going for a run, and like getting it out, right? You know, like I get it out of the gym, and you get it out all day, like all day.
Moving is my jam. Like I love moving.
You do, I was in such a bad. So I need to say thank you and pay the proper respect. It really was a sign from God when I was in South Boston, because I was in a really bad spot then, and you were like, hey, a spot just opened up in my house. Like, I was in a horrible spot. I wasn't even in a good spot in Ludlow, which was still only temporary, but like I was in a horrible spot. But then I would come back, and I remember it would be like 7:30 on a Saturday, and I know that all the neighbors were thinking it too. But
I was outside lifting
in your garage, and the what are they called? Powered jerk.
I was lifting. We'll just stop there.
What are the jerks called? Because you drop the weights, you know, like whoom, whoom, and then boom, and they rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Put that shit down daintily. Like, you gotta slam the bar.
I'd want to be slamming that shit down too, but I'm just saying there was definitely at least one other neighbor that was just like, "What the fuck is that?" It's 7.
I gotta get my lift in before I go to hike with my dog.
Yeah. Well, that neighbor probably also was having the same problems as me, and then they're like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. But you gotta get it out every day. Yeah,
for sure. You gotta have like, you need your hour of whatever time, like whatever it is that you do that makes you feel awesome and like stress outlet. Like, I do that. I go to yoga. Like, I'll go outside and just go for a hike some days. It's just being outside and being active and moving your body, and like your body thanks you when you move it. Like, you feel so much better. Like, I don't know. Get a dog too. That'll lighten your life up.
There's this. There's
really no time where he's upset unless I don't feed him, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
I mean, I wanted a dog so bad, and it was the only reason why I didn't get one is because I understood that it was for more of those reasons than it was to responsibly be a dog owner.
Yeah, gotta have the time.
And you need. I think you need a yard.
Yeah, for sure.
You need the time. You need the yard.
Yeah.
And it really is like you can't just be gone for 18 hours.
No. You can do that with a cat.
Yeah, fucking
not so much a dog.
Yeah. Shout outs to Murr.
A man.
Oh, man. No, but I mean, I completely agree. You need to move. And I think this is a form of getting it out as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of friends reach out to me that were in some serious hard times because I'm open about it, and they know that, like, I've been through some shit as well.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times you hear people, and what you hear is the ego wondering even whether or not it's okay for them to ask the question of being like, they pose it like this, like, I mean, I don't know, like, should I talk to a psychiatrist? I mean, and what I tell them all the time is like, yo, it's, you know, they start 16, 18, 17, 18, you know, it's 2018. Everyone should talk to someone once a week.
I have a mental coach.
Yeah, you should have that. If you don't have one person that you get it all out to once a week, you're gonna bottle a lot of shit up, dude. A lot of shit up.
Totally. Yeah, my life's going pretty well too now, and it's still like I have a meeting with my mental coach every 2 weeks usually, and there's still stuff. He's like we start talking, like, yeah, this is great, that's great, and he's like, well, like, what stressed you out this week? What's bothering you? I was like, well, there was this thing, and then it leads into this whole like an hour-long thing, like, and it's a thing, and it can be improved, and there's always stuff that can be improved, like,
and it's usually the thing that you don't want to talk about too, or you don't, so much.
You're just kind of like, it was whatever, and then it's like, nah, it wasn't whatever, it was a big deal.
Shit.
Yeah. But to kind of loop that all together, you asked me before if there was a point where I decided to really change things in my life, and there was, and it was actually a trip that I went on with a couple of my girlfriends, 3 of my girlfriends, to Colorado, and it was when I was unhealthy, which was a lot. So it's probably like 6 years ago now.
2012,
something like that, yeah. And I notoriously would not go on trips with people. I wouldn't commit to like anything, like any like outings that I didn't have full control over, because I didn't want to like lose control in front of people. It was like my biggest fear. And so I said yes to this like week-long trip to Colorado with 4 of my friends, and like we're all in a place together, and it was very, very scary for me to actually say like I'm gonna go and do this.
And at the time, were you like, so at the time you have the eating disorder still? Yeah,
no, totally. It was still as bad as it was, and so I committed to go, and for some crazy, I don't even know, but I went like the whole week without having a relapse or episode, and I felt great the whole time. I had like the time of my life. It was like the most wonderful trip ever. And I remember like being on the plane flight home and like starting to get like upset, like I can't believe like I'm leaving that life to go back to my life. Yeah, this is over. What's gonna happen? Like all the what ifs. Like what ifs will burn a hole in your brain. But then I was like, you know what? Like, I can't believe that actually I went like a whole week. That was like a week of success. That's like, I couldn't go a day without it before. Like, something would happen every day that would cause me to go down this like dark path. And so to go an entire week, it was a huge success. And I was like, I can do this. Like, it was actually right after I had, well, not right after, probably a year previous to that, I had gone away for rehab. So I went to a rehab. I took a semester off of college.
Now, when you say rehab, can you clarify, like, what kind? Because, you know, when you say rehab, automatically everyone's going to bulk in what rehab is for an opiate or drug user.
It was, it's the same, essentially. So if you have a drug addiction, if you have an alcohol addiction, you're going to a behavioral facility. Because those are behaviors. You're addicted to this behavior and you can't stop. So it's the same thing. So a an eating disorder specific rehab. I went in the outpatient program, so I wasn't there. They weren't keeping me there. I was able to go home at night.
I think that's actually I think that's healthier, because the other ones just say, hey, you have zero option to do it.
Yeah.
What you're saying is you still have an option to go home and do it. And I think that you get more learning experience and discipline.
Yeah. Even after leaving there, it was extremely helpful, but I wasn't at the point in my life where I was ready to make the change myself fully. So it was more or less kind of like frustrating to get out of that. I actually got kicked out of it because of my insurance. So another reason why we all love healthcare these days. But yeah, they kicked me out, and I didn't feel any better. Like I had made some progress, but not a lot. But then it just quickly went right back to how it was before I went to rehab. So this was like the first time where I myself decided that I was going to make a change. And I was like, I've never had so much fun in my life. I've never felt so positive. And then I have it was just like a fulfilling thing to be like, I can do this. And that's when I started making a lot of steps forward. And along the way, there were definitely relapses. And with every new challenge became like a new opportunity to test my mindset and my ability to like remain in control and not revert to what I had done in the past. So it's been an interesting learning process over the years, because it's not the same as like a drug or alcohol addiction where you can just never touch that thing again. It's like you have to eat food every day to live.
Yeah.
So to be struggling with something that you have to do in order to survive, like it's even harder. So I would say for most people with eating disorders, it's something that might never go away for some people. For me, to relapse is to undo all the training I've done and all this and that. So maybe that's a reason why I'm so dedicated to what I do. But it's also like it keeps me focused and keeps me, going longer and longer. And the longer you can go without, using those old behavior patterns, the more you're wiring new behavior patterns and more healthy behavior patterns. So,
yeah. Let me ask you, when it was the roughest of the times, how many close friends did you have that you could talk to?
For a long time, I had none.
Yeah.
I had no one I talked to about it. No one knew about it. When I went to my rehab, right after that, I told my best friend Anna about it. I met one of my other best friends there. I won't say her name. I don't know if she wants everyone to know about it. But those were the only two people I knew about it. And obviously, my parents didn't know for a long time. I would say probably several years before they caught on to what I was doing. And then I could talk about it to them, but did I want to? No. I was like, I don't want to be like, hey, Mom, I fucked up again. Like,
especially where if you're like where I was in the boat of like before I went on YouTube, feeling like even my best friends could not comprehend the struggle. So getting into a conversation about it almost felt like you were moving backwards and then almost going to get mad at that person because it's like, no, but you don't understand this. And then you just shut everyone out.
Yeah.
And then when you started getting better, and I know, so I wanted to wrap this into community, right? So did you feel like you established either more community or more close friends on the getting better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Through my eating disorder, I pushed everyone away. I didn't want anyone to be close to me. Like, there were very, very few people who I kept as friends. Like, I pretty much lost like all my high school friends. That's when it started. A lot of people from college I didn't keep in touch with. Just like, I would say like my senior year of college, I really kind of distanced myself from everyone. Obviously, like, you were always there for me. Like, you're one of those people. I remember that one time I was so sick and it was like I had the flu on top of like everything else, and I was like, I called you up and I was like, I need you to go to CVS and pick up my prescriptions because I can't physically get up and go. And you did. You and my mom. My mom drove all the way out to Western Mass to go pick up prescriptions for me.
Damn.
But yeah, so the community thing, like, once I started to get better, I started to talk to more people about it, and eventually I posted a blog about it, and I was extremely surprised with how many people read my blog, because that was the first time I had ever blogged before, and so many people read it, and it was kind of like a really it was an interesting experience for me because I knew it was on Facebook, and like, people.
Yeah, you got to get bold.
Facebook was like a couple years ago, maybe, when it was big, right? But that's when I posted that, and I knew who it would be reaching, essentially. And a lot of my friends from high school reached out to me. People from college, people still now are reaching out to me over it, and it's overwhelming the amount of people that have been dealing with the same stuff or variations, and they're like, they don't know what to do because they're still in that phase where they've never,
they
had
just
success.
picked up the computer and decided to search to see about other people's stories.
So it's definitely still something that definitely needs to be addressed. something that a lot of people can learn from. And even so, it's like, I feel like people that don't have an eating disorder can learn from it too, because it's a behavior. And it's like, and it has to do with anxiety, depression, all those things. I went through all that stuff and I overcame it. So if you have anxiety and depression, like, you can overcome that.
Yeah.
It's possible. You just have to set your mind to it. You have to not give up and not give in to all this kind of stuff.
Which seems a lot easier to say from our positions now than it was on the day that it was the worst, before you had 6 to 18 months before your brain would even be okay again, or before you would ever need to eat food every day for the rest of your life again and have it be a normal thing.
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you, on December 24th of 2016, when my mom looked at me, she looked at me, and like, this was the brunt of it. This was probably about like a month in, 3 weeks to a month in of like, finally, like, no more benzos. And she just came up to me and she's just like, you need to go to the hospital right now. Like, get in the car. I'll drive you to the emergency room. And like, it made me smile. And I almost giggled in the worst time of my entire life when I looked at her, and I'm just like, if you think this is bad, you have no fucking idea, right? I'll be fine. Okay. This is nothing. Like that was definitely in the worst of it, but what I was even able to get vulnerable and open enough for my mom to even see it. I mean, I had already gone through it many times in the past, right? So on that day, if I was like, okay, 18 months is when I know that definitely it won't be fucking with me mentally anymore, that seems like forever.
Yeah.
But it's all one day at a time.
Exactly.
And you already know that time flies. And here's the thing, you just need to do something. You need to do some work. If you're working on it, even if you're not better, you'll be surprised at how much you could carry yourself through. Because as much as it's fucking with you, I like to describe it as if, like, I really want to make this video, put a green screen in there and show a brain, right? If you show a brain, I think I was telling you this at the restaurant, right? If you show a brain and then you do a 360 view all around it, that's all black, and that's the black just signifies your surroundings. Okay, I want to eat better. I'm addicted to this and I want to stop. I have an eating disorder. I'm not hanging out with my friends and family more. And all these little things are different sized circles burning in like the sun on that black. Okay, so when you do work, doing work is like pushing blue towards one of those circles. Okay, so, you know, okay, I want to eat better and become more healthy and work out more. I went for a run this morning. Now, maybe I only went for a 10-minute run, and I'm nowhere near where I need to be yet. And one of my goals is to have a healthier lifestyle, to eat better, to exercise more. That was only 10 minutes, but what that 10 minutes of pushing blue on that shit for the rest of your day, you're in no way, you know, you're not the best yet. You know, you don't have a crazy good eating plan in place, but you need to fuck around in the general before anything gets specific. So before you can ever, I want this concrete eating plan. I want to be able to go to the gym 5 times a week. I want to be able to do this. Okay, well, start with 10 minutes. Yeah. If you start with 10 minutes, you'll be surprised at what you can make your mental think and feel and like push off from that. Because dude, it's not impossible. Yeah. Like, I try to tell people that are struggling all the time, how old are you, right? How old are you?
I'm going to be 29 soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be 29 soon, too. So
I'll be 29 before you.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, wait, no.
No, I think we both look good for our age. And when I have short hair, I look younger. So. Which I'm going to grow it out again. But I tell people all the time, okay, so and I don't know the number, but what is the average life expectancy of an American male or female now? And it's probably in the 70s, right? 70s or 80s, something like that. Okay, you got double left. If you don't kill yourself or get killed, you got double, or lotto bad odds, you got double that left. Yeah. Okay, so how long have you been having this issue for? How long have you been going through this trouble? Oh, 9 years. 9 years, that's a long time. That is a long time, especially if you're 29. That's damn near a third of all that.
Correct.
But it'll really only be damn near a fucking fifth or a sixth or a seventh, depending on your life expectancy. And I'm not doing the math in my head, so no one crucify me in the comments. Yeah, it'll just be such a little bit. It'll be such a little bit.
Yeah.
So... because you're grinding every day now. You kind of remind me of like my close friend David Goggins. You know who David Goggins is?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'll put a timetable of contents in this part. I'll put up his podcast with Joe Rogan, which is fucking amazing. That motherfucker, he went from being like a 230 plus pound like slob, like legit slob, and just talking about how, you know, he was like, I couldn't take it anymore. I got up to go for a run, went to go for a run, only did a quarter of a mile and walked the rest of the way home in pain. And how he went from that in his, I think, late 20s too, from that to like one of the few black Marines, like,
that's awesome.
Like a really well-respected Marine. This guy would run 100-mile races and do one week, one another week, one another week. He all just talks, listen, dude, you got to, okay, I did a fourth of a mile. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a fourth of a mile.
Yeah.
The day after that, I'm going to try to do more than that. Hey, I got to a half a mile. Hey, I'm at a mile.
Yeah.
The thing is that you can't, and this goes back to the 10 minutes thing. It's like you can't just think, I want to get up and run 5. If you're not running at all, get up and run a little bit.
Right.
It's not until you implement it into your daily routine a little bit at a time.
Right.
And then you could start really stretching it out.
Yeah.
Because, like, my Instagram feed with you is just girls on a game. Hang on. Girls on a game. Girls on a game. It's fucking good-ass pictures, too, because you had those photo shoots or whatever. But, like, oh, good-ass pictures. Girls on a game. Different outfit. Girl on a game. Every fucking day. Story. Girl on a game.
Yeah.
Little dance while you're doing it.
But another important point, though, is that progress isn't linear. Like, let me just tell you how many times I've been injured, how many times I've had setbacks. Like, I had to fucking, like, sell my house for, like, a loss and a process that shouldn't have happened. You know, there's always ups and downs, but it's just taking the best of every situation. Like, maybe you went out to run a mile today and you only made it a quarter of a mile, but guess what? That's better than sitting on your ass all day. So
100%.
Tomorrow you're going to get up. Maybe you'll feel better. Maybe you can run more, you know? If not, just get out there and do something.
Yeah.
Just do something.
Push some blue.
Something blue.
Push some blue at it. And then, like, because it's I think people really need, people are obsessed with getting to this I want everything to be good all the time state. And I need to check myself on that all the time, right? Things aren't good all the time. But the beauty, just like the beauty, and actually if you listen to this podcast or you have any of the same experience with benzos with me, and you know that when you get off of them, you're going to more than likely get really depressed, be really in your head, want to kill yourself, have really rough days. If you know that, then you could get through it. Mohammed Denny, who's the first podcast on this, put a great quote by Winston Churchill on there and said, if you're going through hell, keep going. But guess what? Like, the beauty in knowing that it is not always going to be good is that when it's not good, okay, fucking one on the fucking other side, one on the other side of the score, okay?
It's like New England weather. It's always going to change.
Yeah, it's seasonal. It is seasonal. That's the definition of seasonal. It's going to come back. Oh, this was a hard winter day. This is a nice warm winter day, but it's still winter, and then summer comes, and it's spring, right? It's all going to...
Really? Summer comes after winter?
What? No, I just mean seasonal.
You weren't going in chronological order.
Not
okay.
at all.
All right.
Well, maybe I'm referring to the bottom half of the globe, Kathleen. maybe I was switching geography.
Okay. Good point. Touche. Got me.
So
Ronan liked that joke.
You did. His tail's wagging like a motherfucker.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm feeling this, and I'm also feeling if you pat my stomach. So if you were to, like, all right, so let's I wanted to do this, or I am doing this, where it's like kind of manifest your month thing. It was week before, but I think that's a little bit too limited for listeners or whatever. So I'm of the belief of just like how good vibes rub off and bad vibes rub off, that, and here's, all right, so what I never did say about you with your friends that time, and then you were surprised out of nowhere, you went from every single day to you went to not doing it at all for a several days stint. So how involving other people in community, and just that alone is a life hack into your own accountability. Because I used to always think that, I used to think less of myself, that there would be times that when it was for somebody else, I would work harder than when it was for me. I even saw that with employers and at work, and then versus on my off day and wanting to get something done and how hard I went at it. But then I realized it's just how we evolved. I mean, we've always all evolved in community and working together, and this is just really the first time in a lot of long history that we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So what I also think, and how vibes rub off and how manifestation is a real thing, is that the podcast alone, regardless of how many people listen to this now until whenever or through the next month, is that if we speak a few things that we think are practical, realistic, that we would like to accomplish, that even if they don't happen, that the odds are still better that they do. Like when my mom says, I always get good parking spaces, and she fucking always does. And because you have a few other people that are just, their vibe is resonating with yours, even if it's not right now at this moment, and they're on it with you. So over the next month, what would you like to accomplish?
For the next month, it'll be May.
This is due your interview thing is due the 10th?
It's due technically the 14th, but
you do the same thing as me. Yep.
Well, I had to send it to this casting producer, and he's going to go over it with me and see if we need to tweak anything. But yeah, definitely get that accomplished. I'll actually have my first workshop weekend for my nutritional therapy course in New York City that same weekend. This is all residing around Friday the 13th, which has always been a lucky day for me. So it's going to continue to be lucky. But
there you go. That's
the closing of my house is Friday the 13th. So if all those things go smoothly, I get that application on time, house closes, I make it to New York City on my own. I've never been to New York City. I have one time.
Really?
Well, I went one time when I was in Umass, my freshman year, when basketball was doing really well and they went to play at Madison Square Garden. We took a bus trip out there. I can tell you I remember about 20 minutes of the entire thing. I remember getting on the bus. I remember being in a bar in New York City drinking underage somehow, and then we were in the game, and then it was over. And that's all I remember. But yeah, other than that, I've never been to New York City, so I have to take the train into New York City by myself. I'm staying by myself for 3 days.
Really?
I'm a little nervous. I am not city smart.
When are you going?
The 12th to the 15th of April.
12th through the 15th.
So next weekend.
Okay, after the cast, let me check the calendar. I got people I need to see out there.
Yes.
So let me check. Okay, so short version is you like your class to go well.
Yep. Make it to New York City, close on the house, and send in this application.
Get on Titan Games.
Yeah.
Did they give you any type of timeline for when you'd find out?
I think he said something, but I can't remember. I'm sure it's going to be a couple of weeks. But yeah. And then shortly after that, I'll have my first weightlifting meet of the year. And I'll hopefully be able to qualify for the American Open, which is a big U.S.-wide competition.
Yeah, I think you're going to get it now. I think not just because if you look at that process, like this process, and practicing the letter, all those other times, whether it was Trulia or what the fuck was that shit, that brain shit that you're like, here, you could take these because they give me anxiety.
What are you
the supplement, about? Remember? That made you anxious during your...
Qualia.
Qualia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whether any of those times are the performance times, the performances that didn't go well, etc. Okay, you need a bunch of those before you get a really good clip. Probably also another reason why just doing this live together was your best one. So I think you'll get in there then.
Yeah.
Me, and how blessed would I be if this motherfucker watched this? So manifest over the next month would be, and like I've been going hard on this. So been writing Joe Rogan a message every single day on his in his sponsorship inquiries on his webpage, because I told him I would do this 5 months ago. So I said, I already apologize for the persistence. So I've been writing him every single day, and I don't know if sponsorship inquiries is about sponsoring him. I think that's might be what it's about. However, that motherfucker got money. I heard he's making like 10 to 30 G's an episode.
Probably.
Plus, I'm not dude, I could even care less if he gave me anything. I'm asking for JRE, for the Joe Rogan podcast, to sponsor me. Now, I'm going to write him every single day up until 420. And I'll still keep doing it after that if nothing works out. But the only reason why until 420
is because y'all got to smoke weed on that day.
Somewhat. Also because I'm going to be a guest at the Wilbur instead of working at the Wilbur. That's for awesome. His show. True. On 420. I already asked the director of operations. Shout out to John. John's one of the best people I've ever met. And Taylor knows and Bill knows. Taylor does more of like the promotional business side. Bill's like the general manager of operations. And I apologize if I'm doing that wrong, but like you can't read it anywhere. So, and so John already knows I want to meet him. I want to meet Joe Rogan. At the end of the day, all I want to do is say thank you and shake his hand. I'm going to respect his time because he's filming his Netflix special that weekend. So if that's all I get, that's all I get. But what I would hope to happen, what I would love to happen, and when I shake his hand, there will be like a drug deal, but a USB drive inside of it with all the episodes that I've done up until then, along with all the timetable of contents and what Tourage actually means. I'll give him that, and I'm reaching out to a few sponsors, but I want, if I can have Joe Rogan sponsor this podcast, even if that just means the JRE stamp of approval. That's what I would like, right? Level 5 leader is the best leader because they groom and raise leaders that are like them to take over when they're after, right? I'm 28, he's 41 or so, 43 or something like that. Okay. I work at the Wilbur. He's doing his Netflix special there because he's from Boston. It's one of those things where if the universe wanted it all to work out, then it will. Awesome. Because it should be easy. I'm not fighting.
Now, is that sold out, the Joe Rogan thing?
I believe so.
Damn it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if it's not, you better let me know.
Yeah, I think it is. I got the pre-sale tickets. I didn't get any discount even though I work at the Wilbur. And then
Damn.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, that motherfucker, he has an influence. You know, he's touching with YouTube.
I've listened to a lot of his podcasts.
And YouTube is a less than podcast app. So YouTube, he's averaging anywhere from 200,000 to 3 to 5, probably around 3 million views per YouTube episode. But then those same episodes on podcast app, which I'm about to put all these on the podcast app because
I use the podcast app.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying, because a lot of people don't have YouTube Red, so they can't just click it and put it down.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put them all on there, but at least they'll have a few to go to. I wouldn't want to do that when there was only 1 or 2,
right.
And then they're waiting on me. You hit the ground running. Now, I'm always at least 8 episodes ahead of them unless they binge. And if they do, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so, and then I'll work his show on the 21st. So any opportunity on either of those, that is every day when I meditate in the sauna at the gym, I throw in at least a minute out of the 10 to 15 minutes that I do into just trying to bring that towards me. Because now I know that manifestation is not a fake thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll happen. I have faith in you.
Thank you.
You know that.
I got faith in you too.
If it was the 37th of the month, it would be the 37th of the month.
Yeah, but watch. I'm going to try to do something stupid with numbers. And watch. It'll be at that time. That would make. I got to think with the number 37. Just for everyone listening.
So at X37, shit's going to go down, the handshake.
Yeah, it will.
The eye contact, the love at first sight.
Yeah.
That
would be good, but real should recognize real, and it'd be great. So I also want it'd be so great just because it's the same format. I would love it if you looked at this and was just like, okay, yeah, well, it doesn't couple mine at all when you come to talent or people that are coming through, whatever. But like at the end of the day, the story is all that really matters, and there's a timetable of contents, right? I think if I would say there's anything that he could improve on, which hopefully he's not mad at this, it would be all the dope, beautiful shit that it gets spoken about in the Joe Rogan podcast should have some timetable reference or some reference so that you could hit show more on YouTube. And then when you talk about that book, or we talk about that type of workout, or we talk about that type of drug or anything like that, you could just copy, new tab, paste. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, I make a timetable of contents. I go back so you could skip through the video, and I write out and I put the corrections in there, right? I'm going to get shit talkers at some point that are like, there are snakes in Hawaii, which I found out after the 5th episode, because there are basically no snakes in Hawaii, but there are 2 kinds. And unfortunately, because I don't have the whole computer set up and everything yet.
They're going to send you those snakes in the mail and be like, I told you so, motherfucker.
Yeah, one of them is blind. So, like, does that really count? Like, I don't know. It's like a blind snake.
Oh, that's funny. Does it live in the lava? Like, yeah. What?
So everything we talk about in any podcast, Kathleen and I and anyone else, you could always find it in the show more, at least to get to it, to share it, and to get to the information and knowledge.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Kathleen Goller, you're going to have some bloopers right after.
Ronan, there's one.
Hey!
Shh. Hey. No barking.
You probably just heard the door open.
Yeah.
That's it. Ronan ended it.
All right. No. Shh. Ronan says we're done.
Ronan says we're done.
Feed me, humans.
All right, guys.
That's good.
I'm ready.
Whenever you're ready. Alright, I'm gonna go hang out in there. Play on my phone a little bit. Give it a few runs. And enunciate. Diaphragm. Kathleen, diaphragm.
Protect your neck. This is so awkward.
Yeah, how do you think I feel?
Hi, my name's Kathleen Goller. I am a student at the, oh shit, I messed up already. In my spare time, I do paleo food blog. Basically what brought me to where I am today is a whole bunch of things. It's not funny. Ronan, you want to hop in? I am a person, human being, a female. This is taking too long. Fuck. Most nights I am a waitress. Now I basically fuck around. I eat food. Okay, we can't like piece this together. Wait, as a now I can't even speak. I was doing so good. I give up. I'm sweating. Is that a pull-up bar? When I'm not studying, I am doing fuck waitressing.
Slower.
Slower.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Goller. I'm a nutritionist. I fuck around with weights.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Goller. Fuck. Hi, my name is Kathleen Goller. That's all I know.